My wife had an affair, so I made sure her lover lost his job, wife, and home. I found out because of a second phone I discovered tucked under the passenger seat of her car. It wasn't locked. The entire history was right there, laid out in texts and photos. For the first hour, I just felt a strange sort of quiet inside. The anger came later, cold and methodical. I realized a messy confrontation with her wasn't what I wanted. It was him. He was the one I needed to deal with. I didn't want to just break up my own family. I wanted to make sure he understood the true cost of what he had done. So I put my emotions away in a box and got to work. The first thing I did was hire a private investigator. I told him I needed a complete picture of this man's life. Not just proof of the affair, I already had that, but everything. His finances, his work life, his family connections. The investigator was a quiet, professional man who just nodded and told me his rate. It was a lot of money, more than $30,000 when all was said and done, but it was worth every penny. He came back a few weeks later with a full report. The affair partner wasn't just married. His entire life was built on his wife's family. He worked as a vice president at a construction company owned by his father-in-law. They lived in a beautiful house in a nice suburban neighborhood, also owned by his father-in-law. His car was a company car. His whole world was held up by the family he was betraying. That was his weak point. I spent the next week putting everything together into 3 identical packages. Each one contained clear, time-stamped photos of my wife and him together, printouts of their most explicit texts, and copies of hotel receipts. I made sure to include the receipts he'd foolishly paid for with his corporate credit card. One package was for his wife. One was for his father-in-law. The last one was for my wife. My plan required perfect timing. I didn't want anyone tipping off anyone else. With help from the investigators team, we arranged for 3 separate couriers to deliver the packages at exactly 10 weird a.m. on a Monday morning. His wife would get hers at home. His father-in-law would get his at the office. That morning, I put my wife's package on the kitchen table. Then I woke up our 2 kids, told them we were going on a little trip, and checked us into a hotel across town. I turned my phone off. I learned later that his wife opened the package and immediately called her father, who was looking at the exact same evidence. His father-in-law didn't just fire him, he had him escorted from the building by security. Citing the misuse of the company credit card, he launched a full audit and was preparing to sue him for fraud. More than that, he made a few calls, and by the end of the day, my wife's lover was professionally blacklisted from every major contractor in the state. His career was over. He came home to find his belongings in trash bags on the lawn. His wife had filed an emergency divorce petition and gotten a temporary restraining order. He had nothing and no one. Our own divorce was quiet. We just focused on a custody agreement for the children. Taking him down didn't make me feel good, but it made me feel like things were finally balanced.